Hey folks, so earlier this season we test rode Moto Guzzi's 2023 V100 Mandello S. This is an all new street bike from Moto Guzzi out of northern Italy. Now a lot of people might not know, but Moto Guzzi's actually been producing motorcycles out of its factory on the shore of Lake Como for over 100 years. This 2023 V100 Mandello S that we operated, this is the first truly new, modern Moto Guzzi motorcycle that we've seen in the company's history. Now, if you look back 15, 20 years, this V100 most resembles, in my mind, the old Griso 8-valve motorcycle that Moto Guzzi made for a while, around 15, 20 years ago. I love that motorcycle. I always wondered when that motorcycle would get a revamp or a refresh. And although this V100 Mandello is positioned a little bit differently, it's actually very similar in application. Let's get into it. Now, the 2023 V100, this features an all-new water-cooled traverse-mounted V-twin. Traverse-mounted V-twin means instead of the V engine being mounted underneath you with the front cylinder facing forward and the rear cylinder facing back, this engine is mounted like this. So the pistons are on either side of the motorcycle, much like a boxer twin from the Motorrad factory, but instead of the pistons working in an opposed angle, this is in a V angle like that. Now, Moto Guzzi's done a number of really important changes to this iconic power plant. First off, the engine is significantly shorter than before. Those old air-cooled Guzzis, they always had really long transmissions, and Moto Guzzi was able to shave off 4 inches off the depth of the engine from front to back, and it's quite noticeable. The cylinder heads have also been reconfigured. They always had the exhaust aimed out from the front of the motorcycle. Now they are canted 90 degrees and exit from the side. The V-block is still positioned in a 90-degree angle. Other improvements include dual overhead chain-driven camshafts and adjustable ride-by-wire throttle. This is a really neat motorcycle. Now, the thing I love about this 1042cc engine is just how much character it has. It has a little bit of that longitudinal rumble and shake, but it's nothing like past Moto Guzzis. The counter-rotating crankshaft really does a lot to make this motorcycle very nimble. I mean, this bike weighs north of 500 pounds with a full 4.5 gallons of fuel, but when we were riding around the shores of Lake Como, you would never know that this motorcycle weighed this much. It was very nimble and very apt to change direction. You have to remember, the roads in northern Italy, they're small. These are narrow roads. These are not wide, big American roads designed for big vehicles. And typically, you wouldn't really want to be operating a 500-pound street bike on these type of roads, but the V100 Mandello S, it offered awesome handling. We were operating the up-spec S model, which adds $2,000 to the US MSRP. It goes from $15,500 to $17,500. And for that extra $2,000, you get semi-active Öhlins suspension, you get heated grips, and you get a nice adjustable windscreen. There's also some nice styling touches that make that motorcycle stand apart from the base $15,500 motorcycle. The Öhlins semi-active suspension, the EC 2.0 that a lot of these bikes have nowadays, it just works really good. It just takes out all the fuss out of having to adjust the damping of the fork or the shock. You set it, you forget it. Of course, the suspension is tied to each of the 4 riding modes: rain, touring, and sport and urban. And all of these riding modes deliver a much different ride quality. I preferred the sport riding mode the most. It gave the most intimate throttle response and really made that V100 really fun to ride on these back roads around Lake Como. Ergonomics on this motorcycle. I really liked how narrow this motorcycle felt. I felt real comfortable on it. Even though it's a 500-pound bike, it doesn't really look that big. It's nice and compact from front to back. It's fairly narrow in terms of width. And it's really a good urban touring bike. It's a kind of bike that you can be comfortable on and still have a good degree of maneuverability in the city. Yet if you wanted to, you can fit the OE accessory hard cases and go on some light touring missions with it. The electronically adjustable windscreen is a really handy feature. The aerodynamic features on this motorcycle, it has these louvers that open when you are in a speed over 45 miles per hour in the touring mode. And these louvers, what they're designed to do is they're designed to reduce the turbulent air inside the cockpit and reduce the amount of precipitation that comes in the cockpit while you're riding in the rain. It's also worth noting that when you're riding in rain mode, those louvers are always open to hopefully deflect some of that water off your body. I think it's a neat concept. The louvers worked really well. They opened and closed very seamlessly. They certainly look cool. It's a very neat feature. But the actual application of them, I don't know. It's kind of silly to me. I don't think it really made that much of a difference when I was riding. It's worth noting that Moto Guzzi did some wind tunnel testing on the aerodynamics package on this vehicle. Moto Guzzi actually had a wind tunnel at its historic factory in northern Italy, but that wind tunnel has since closed, and they now lean on the Piaggio Group wind tunnel, where they do all of their superbike and all of their wind tunnel testing at the Piaggio Group HQ, which is the ownership group of Moto Guzzi and Aprilia and Vespa. Now, styling on this V100. I love the styling of this bike. This bike is a real head turner. The premium green paint with the S, I love it. It got this nice like British racing green color with the black wheels. It just looks really tasty. I like the single-sided swing arm. I like that this motorcycle has a shaft final drive. Moto Guzzi did some good R&D engineering on this shaft final drive where it doesn't have a lot of jack effects. So when you give it the throttle, it hooks up and goes. It feels very natural. It feels very much like a conventional chain final drive motorcycle, except there is no chain to clean and no mess. It's very nice. Of course, you're gonna have to service that shaft final drive intermittently, but that's one of the ownership costs of shaft final drive. Brakes on this motorcycle, triple disc hydraulic brakes on this bike keep speed in check. I love that this bike has a big, strong rear brake. 280 millimeter disc with a 2-piston caliper. I love bikes with strong back brakes, and this V100 employs just that. It also has ABS that you can turn off if you want to do some slides. Another really neat feature about this bike is it's the first Moto Guzzi that I've probably ever ridden that had a real clutch. Moto Guzzis have always had these really strange, really vague feeling dry clutches that are just on or off. You know, they're on or off, they don't feel good. This V100 has a real wet, oil-cooled clutch. It has good feel, real good response. The S model we operated was fitted with an electronic quick shifter. The electronic quick shifter was a little bit lazy in terms of its shifting. I wish it had a little bit faster programming. But then again, this is Moto Guzzi's first try at having an electronic quick shifter, so we'll let it slide on this bike. Now, keeping tabs on everything is the Piaggio Group's now signature 5-inch color TFT display. This display was originally fitted on the 2021 MY Aprilia RS V4 and the Tuono naked bikes. I like this display. The user interface is a tremendous improvement from where Piaggio Group and Moto Guzzi was before. Still, The fonts inside that 5-inch color TFT display could be larger. It's sometimes kind of hard to see some of the settings when you're riding with that motorcycle. Switchgear is also very nice, but it could benefit from slightly better tactile feel. But still, it is a big improvement from where we remember where Moto Guzzi was coming from. Now, the sound and character of this engine is just a hoot to ride. It pumps out right around 115 horsepower at the 190 series Pirelli tire, claims Moto Guzzi. It's not the fastest thing on the road, but it's enough to get the blood pumping and have some excitement, especially on slow to medium speed roads. That's where this bike really excels. I really like how smooth the engine is. I like the purr of it. I like that the engine doesn't vibrate excessively, and it doesn't throw off a ridiculous amount of engine heat onto your feet. You gotta remember, those V-twin cylinders are right there by your feet. And yeah, you do feel a little bit of engine heat, especially when you're riding at slower speeds inside the confines of a city, but it's definitely not too much. I could definitely live with it. Overall, first impressions of this 2023 V100 Mandello, I like it. It's a really nice bike. It's nimble, it's got decent power, it's fun. It feels a lot more modern than Moto Guzzi's used to feel. The engine doesn't have this weird shake. The clutch works really well right now. The brakes are sharp. It has a lot of amenities like heated grips, like an electronically adjustable windscreen, like semi-active electronically adjustable suspension, USB charging point. There's a lot of things that are really neat about this motorcycle. Yeah, the aerodynamic louvers, they're cool, but they're kind of weird too at the same time. And the fonts on the instrumentation could be bigger. But if you're looking for a motorcycle that has that classic style and that classic character that only Guzzi can deliver with a lot of modern amenities that most new bikes have, I think you're going to be really happy with the V100 Mandello S. And the price, $17,500 for a motorcycle built in Italy with a 2-year manufacturer's warranty. That's not a bad price. The fit and finish on this bike is pretty good too. I was really impressed with how well that engine was put together and some of the machining on the motorcycle hard parts. Moto Guzzi has done a really nice job with this V100 Mandello S. Well, that wraps up our review of Moto Guzzi's V100 Mandello. It's worth noting, because we were on an official press introduction, we weren't able to run this vehicle through our standard gamut of tests, including night riding, riding on our favorite sporty road, and registering the fuel mileage. We were able to record some commentary during the course of our ride, which we will end this review with. Sorry, this commentary isn't totally in order. We had some microphone problems as usual. If you can remember, we had microphone problems with our 2021 RSV4 track review from WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Oh, it still bugs me. But we're going to leave you with some commentary that was recorded live from this event. And we'll see you guys next time. Make sure to surf on over to motorcyclistonline.com. That's where all of our written content lives. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Thumbs it down if you didn't, because we love hearing from the naysayers. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for taking a moment to ride with Motorcyclist.
All right, folks, another neat feature that this street bike has is its adjustable aerodynamic louvers, and these louvers are said to reduce turbulent air inside the cockpit. So you can open them or close them. Right now they are set up to open when we're in the touring mode. So we go into touring mode with this button right here, and they turn on. Okay, maybe the rain mode. Now they go on. Look at them. How cool is that, folks? So this reduces turbulent air inside the cockpit. I don't really know if I can feel it that much. It feels like it's a little bit less air in this region, but I would say it's a probably pretty small change. You got to remember that the Piaggio group, or Moto Guzzi especially, they had a wind tunnel. They were one of the early adopters in the olden days of having a wind tunnel, and that allowed them to achieve optimum aerodynamics on their motorcycles back in the day. Fast forward to today, and that wind tunnel is just too old school. They now rely on a different, more modern wind tunnel that the Piaggio group has, I believe, in Noelle, Italy. So that is the deal with these active louvers aerodynamic. And also, the Moto Guzzi people were telling me that this reduces the amount of rain that flies on you when you're riding in rainy conditions. Pretty neat. Alright folks, we found out how to put this into the Imperial system. You just hold down this button here, go into dashboard, and you can switch the language and the units. It was very easy. The only thing that was kind of annoying is you go into the units and you have to adjust everything: fuel consumption, temperature, pressure. It's not just a universal setting. Some people might like that, but the more button pushing you have to do, the less awesome it is, in my opinion. We can also go here to the riding mode and tailor each of the 4 riding modes: sport, road, touring, and rain. We can adjust those. I don't know why those aren't in English right now. And then we can adjust the semi-active suspension. All right folks, let's giddy up at the controls of the Mandello V100. Yes, finally some turns without traffic on the surface. Now, despite this vehicle weighing right around 500 pounds with a full tank of fuel, this vehicle it handles very nicely. I like how agile it is. It's very easy to put where you want. The good thing about these middleweight sport touring bikes is that they're real agile. They don't take up a lot of room. They're relatively compact for a touring bike. And I love a big heavyweight touring bike, no doubt. But big heavyweight touring bikes take up a lot of room in the garage. They are more difficult to wield in dense traffic, and they're just a lot. Of course, they're awesome when it comes to going to the grocery store, because you can put all your stuff in there. Riding 500, 600, 700 miles during the course of a weekend, those bikes are awesome for that too. But realistically, if you're not taking these big trips all the time, or traveling far distances all the time, these middleweight sport touring bikes are the sweet spot. Well folks, just before we started getting into some nice corners, we have to stop to collect photography and videography for our additional supplementary content that we provide at our company. So we will tune in to you guys with a little bit. Like we said before, we are on someone else's program at these official press introduction events. So we can't just do whatever we want or collect all of our media the way we know how. And we can't do our elaborate testing program like we do on all vehicles we test stateside. All right, folks, I'm going to do my photo pass. I will see you later.